Hello, everybody. Welcome to HR Nightmares, sponsored by Leith HR Group. I'm Lisa Leith, and I'm here with
Amy Conway.
Hey, season 4. We're wrapping it up.
Yeah, it went by fast.
It did go by fast. And we recorded the last episode with a guest, a fellow HR expert here. And I went and looked at the YouTube channel, and we have now 56, not including this episode, 56 videos that people can go watch and see all kinds of like HR expertise and realistic advice from yours truly.
Yeah, just the video clips.
Yeah, video clips. I want to remind folks too that we are on all the socials. So if you don't feel like watching a 30-minute or 45-minute full episode, there's tons of micro clips that our studio, shout out to Kickstart Collective, has put out there on TikTok, Instagram. So I know y'all are just brain rot, and like go watch some helpful brain rot.
Yeah, we try to put the funny ones out there too. Like ferrets in the workplace.
Oh my God, like where Beth,
if you don't know what we're talking about, ferrets in the workplace.
Bat Jim or...
Oh yeah, the guy with the bat.
The guy with the bat.
Bat blood, I think.
Blood.
I think it was bat blood or something. I don't know.
But hey, I thought maybe it'd be fun to sort of like reflect on all the episodes we recorded this season and just give like a quick rundown and maybe like any reflections or things that you remember, we remember together, like from each of the recordings. And then go check them out. Again, YouTube, it's Leith HR Group, HR Nightmares. You can go to leithhrgroup.com, and there's a big red button at the top on the header that says HR Nightmares. You can submit your own questions, anonymous questions to us, and we'll try to do our best with the information you provide to like give you some solid advice. So it doesn't matter if you're a fellow HR person, you're a business owner, you're running a company, or you're like a frontline team member or employee, like we can come at it from all angles.
Yeah. And if you like those, we did a Q&A, I think, in our recap of this season. We usually do at least one episode, if not two, of like all listener Q&A, which are always great because there's so many different topics covered in one episode. But if you really like those episodes, then go out and submit more questions.
Yeah, we love it. We have fun.
Enough, that we're doing them more consistently.
Totally.
Once we get enough, then we kind of add an episode in with all of them.
Absolutely. So the first episode we did this season was about AI in the workplace. And if I'm remembering correctly, we went through and kind of talked about how we're using it beyond productivity and how we're training organizations on how to use it and encouraging people to use it.
Yeah. And I don't think like too much has probably changed since that very first episode. And it does feel like I was saying we've talked about AI so much, but it's such a relevant topic for what's happening in the landscape of our businesses that we support changing, how HR is changing, just the world really, and like how we're all utilizing technology just a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently. And so if you go back to that episode, we really talk about some of the key elements of, if you're not comfortable, how you can get comfortable, how you can slowly start to use AI more, how you can talk about it in interviews, how you can become an expert, because it is going to be what helps you get the next job, maybe what helps you be more efficient at the job you already have.
That's right.
So I think there's a lot of relevant information in that episode and good just input on how you can get more and more comfortable and really use that as a tool to be successful.
So go check out AI in the Workplace, Season 4, Episode 1. Season 4, Episode 2, we talked about ICE and what to do if your employees or you, if you're listening, like if ICE comes on site to the workplace, how do you handle and getting a plan together and being empathetic and supportive if that's what you want to do. But of course, we're people, so we're trying to come at it not just from like a compliance and what are you allowed to do, but like what's the right and kind thing to do for people.
Yeah.
And it's still, now fast forward, 3 months, it's still
another
an issue.
Relevant topic again.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's probably even more relevant today than it was when we did it originally 3 or 4 months ago, right? It was just starting, but we were not feeling all of the weight of some of those visits into our employers in North Carolina until probably a couple of weeks ago. That really shifted and changed for our state, especially the metropolitan areas like Charlotte and Raleigh. And then we even had some experiences and incidents really here in Wilmington. I was sending out a couple weeks ago I have a few construction clients and home builders, and I wanted to make sure that my superintendents that are out in the field, while we don't actually employ the employees that are working in the field, there are subcontractors, but they're responsible for those job sites and making sure everyone feels safe and protected, and they feel safe and they feel comfortable responding. So I had to send out emails, which was just like, best tips. I want first and foremost everyone to feel safe. But here's some things that we also are responsible for making sure our employees feel like we're able to provide a safe environment for them too. And
legitly, I mean, I've heard from some of these major construction companies across their national firms, and they've said big projects are being delayed because people are scared to like leave their homes for weeks on end right now. So it's an important topic. Go check out the episode 2. If ICE comes on site, like what to do. Episode 3 was back to AI. We spent that whole episode talking about, is AI killing entry-level jobs, and just debating like which ones might go, which ones might stay.
Yeah, if you're a recent grad, or you're in that I'm 20 years old to 26, 27 years old, go back and listen to some of our advice on which fields you might consider shifting into, or which ones might stay more, I need a person to occupy this seat, versus which ones will probably have an easier time shifting to technology, to complete those job functions. So just kind of on what we're seeing from working with all industries and all businesses, what are the jobs that are becoming obsolete, and which are the ones that still have a pretty big pathway, and also like how you can shift your own skills so that you're not obsolete, right?
Yeah.
And so you can really figure out how to become an expert in AI and let that help you get the job, versus not being a candidate for a role. So that was a great episode.
Yeah, go check out episode 3, is AI killing entry-level jobs. Episodes 4 and 5 were where we open the inbox. We got enough anonymous audience write-ins. We talked about things like micromanaging bosses to unconventional support animals.
That was the ferret in the workplace episode. So if you want to hear if you're allowed to bring your ferret to work or not, you got to go back and listen to, I don't remember if it was episode 4 or 5, but it was one of those Q&A ones.
It was episode 5. And then we also had Greg Mosier from Leith HR Group. And shout out to Greg, because he's actually just moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And Leith HR Group is going to be starting up the third sort of geographical location and putting a stake in the ground out in Nashville. So if you know folks that might need a great HR consulting firm, I recommend you reach out to Andy Allmeter at Leith HR Group and get introduced to Greg, who's now an HR consultant out in Western North Carolina. So we're super excited about that. Awesome. But Greg joined us for the second recording also of Inbox, opening the inbox and doing audience write-ins. We talked about virtual happy hours, Amy's favorite.
Yeah, if you guys missed the episode, or really if you're a new listener, you will know I don't always like socializing with people that I work with. It's not that I don't care for them. I attend sometimes.
You didn't get any like rude comments on TikTok for that. I think there was like some haterade when I was like, I don't like people laying in bed on Zoom calls, and there was like a bunch of people didn't like that. So
I don't think I ever did go back and tell one of my best friends that I used her as an example of laying in bed and working all the time.
Just like, dang, I'm sorry. I just don't like people laying in bed being on work calls. My bad.
Lisa does not think it's appropriate to be leaning back in your bed while on Zoom.
Yeah, no.
I don't really care, but I don't want to go have the happy hour with you. And then there you go.
We also talked about like Alexas in conference rooms and spying and Big Brother.
There were so many good
Remember
questions.
That was those were good. Those were good episodes.
They all kind of blend together after time when you're recording them. But that's why those listener Q&A ones are so good, because we can talk about 10 different topics in 40 minutes of time.
They are good. The next episode was about just like the big bang for your buck with fractional HR expertise. So that was you, me, and Beth. I think we were cracking up kind of the whole time, because I'm looking at just like the thumbnail and it's ridiculous.
That's funny. Well, I think that was such a good if you're interested in, if you're a small business, or even if you're an HR person of one and you need some additional support from a more senior level, it kind of dives into why HR consulting and fractional HR really works and why it's really worked in our market and for all the businesses that we support. And having a senior expert that kind of tells you when, okay, you're big enough now and there's enough work that I think it's time we hire a full-time person.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we can handle this and you're going to get a stronger, talented person for a fraction of the cost for you. And then Lisa also dives into how Leith HR started, I think, in that episode. And we kind of go back to really her brainchild and idea to go out on her own and bet on herself and start this women-owned business in town that's really grown to be pretty reputable. I mean, I don't know how you would describe it. But
I hired Amy.
But I have to say, the other day I ran into someone. I was with somebody else that we know in our network, and they were like, "Oh, you know Amy Conway?" And this gal was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "I have not met you," but she goes, we haven't met, but I watched the podcast.
Oh my God, I love that.
So it's funny, like, you know, we're a smaller town in general, but I would say that most businesses in town have heard our names.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yay. Okay. So then after we talked about just fractional HR is a great value for growing businesses, we talked about toxic leaders and workplace harassment. And Lord knows we have all worked with some toxic
Was this the
mofos.
I think this is the episode that Beth had the great story about the guy.
The gender-based harassment at work. We talked about.
I don't remember. She had a great. You have to go back and look at the clip. Oh, this is where I talked about my employee that used to comb his fingers through my hair. Probably.
Yes.
And then when I had some inappropriate things that we
You'd
share
be a good
some
secretary.
stories. Yes. Oh, I can't believe I shared that. My mother listened to that and was like, "I didn't know that was said to you." I'm like, "I handled it. I was young. I can handle things on my own. I don't need my mom." You know. So
Shout
all
out
you
to
young
Debbie,
people,
our number one fan.
don't have your moms call in and report your own workplace harassment.
She called the ethics hotline at Nordstrom.
But yeah, and then Beth
Never.
had a great story around that too. It's hard to tell which stories are that and which ones have to do with animals.
Yes, Beth
and
has some crazy stories.
animal
This one
stories.
definitely included some like crazy Beth make us laugh type stories. So you want to go check that one out. She was hilarious. Let's see. We talked about when inmates run the asylum. And this was basically like when the culture that you didn't set out to have, but like culture is action. It's how people talk, behave, how people do work when like the boss isn't watching. Like when culture sort of got out of hand and got off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we talked about this because I was kind of experiencing a current client where I felt like some of the, you know, great executive team, but they're more calm personalities and even keeled, which is awesome and makes them such great leaders. But there's some pretty dynamic vocal personalities sitting one level down. And we're kind of like taking over the room and really stirring up employee things. And it was just going against everything in that, you know, culture and in that environment that I got to a point where I'm like, we got to do something about this. We got to shift it back, you know? And so I think it kind of stemmed from that. And I was so curious to get your and Beth's thoughts on just getting my own advice on how I can help them navigate that a little bit better. But that happens all the time. I have a couple like newer clients where I think they've come to us needing both HR support, but there has been a real desire to be like, hey, we want this culture and like what we got now isn't it. Yeah. And we need some help and we need some input because we've been doing this business for a really long time and it's harder to see, and getting fresh perspective is always a good idea. And that's where if you have that and you're a small business and you're feeling that way, even if you have great leaders or, you know, people in your business or an HR person, sometimes getting someone in your business that doesn't know your business people like us, just offer, again, fresh eyes, fresh perspective.
And we can say things that you can't say because
and
you're paying us to do that.
And I'm not attached. So I'm like, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Here's my input.
We're
You
not
can agree or
afraid to say
disagree,
it.
but I'm going to give it to you.
I don't really work here, so.
Right. Yeah,
we'll do your dirty work for you. Just
well, and it forces you as a business leader to actually have to like dig in and take the actions, right? Like we're not going to do it all for you. We're going to help you along the way. But that was good. The inmates running the asylum.
Running the asylum, episode 9. Episode 10, we talked about and I think we focused a lot on leaders within an organization when high performance masks dysfunction or just like general bad behavior. I think, we've all worked with folks who are like hitting the numbers, but, aren't great leaders for a number of different reasons. Maybe they're angry, they're leading, with like a culture of fear or, and so I think we try to dive into in episode 10, just like how sometimes like emotional outbursts and bad behavior, just quietly or not quietly, like just drain the team.
Mm-hmm. I want to say in that episode, I was able to add a lot of input just being from a like high volume sales type organization in my background. And I think you see it a lot in those kind of like competitive environments, commission-based environments. You get sales-based revenue targets. You see a little bit of that where people who are producing the revenue really can get away with a lot more than the people who are just like behind the scenes support functions. There's a much lower tolerance.
We all work for sales. That's a slogan that we say often. And it's true. I mean, like without sales, like
exactly.
What do we have?
But I also am of the belief that everyone's replaceable.
That's right.
And you may have to hire 2 people to hit the revenue target that the one person did. But, that is way better than losing your other players and, your culture taking a nosedive.
That's right.
Yeah.
So go check out episode 10. And then finally, we had a guest, Travis McCracken, who works for Global Laser Enrichment. By the way, it's not an engraving company. It's actually like a nuclear focused
I think I knew
business.
that only because I'm connected with him on social media.
I was shocked. I felt bad. I kind of felt bad. I was like, but I was shocked. And it was like a spinoff of GE. It's actually a really cool company.
How big they had grown.
Yeah.
I knew they were fairly small when he took that role. But I didn't realize they've grown to over 100 and so employees. That's great.
Opening
in just
up
a handful of years. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so he talks about a lot of what he talks about and the way that he approaches HR is the way that we, do our HR consulting and sit in HR leadership seats. It's like, I want to be a yes person. I want to enable the business. I don't want to be the policy police. I don't want to close my door all the time and not be available. I want employees to know that I'm an approachable person. I do get paid by the business, but like I straddle this, I straddle the line between employee advocate and employer advocate. Mm-hmm. And I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders and a nice approach and just wrote a book.
Yeah. What HR meets fun and functionality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a totally like realistic, pragmatic kind of book. There's some assessments in there. Go and check that episode out. He's just like a normal dude and he calls himself
the HR dude.
The HR dude.
Yeah.
So, really, really nice guest to have. And we were lucky to have him on our final episode of the season. So, hey, I just want to say thank you. And Beth's not here today, but thank you for another fun season of HR Nightmares.
Thank you. We shared it. It was a lot of just us this season, which is always kind of fun. And, glad we could get Greg in here, another person on the Leith team to represent. But it was just a fun season of a lot of topics, and all those topics seemed so relevant. We were able to really dive into the topics and give some good input and good advice. But these episodes are always really fun to record. It felt like we had some really funny stories this time around.
I agree.
Maybe we're all just feeling more free to share openly some of these really bad behavioral things of our past.
Nothing's coming back to bite us yet.
Yeah,
so
I'm like outside the lines. I don't think anyone cares about me anymore from my old career. So I'm like, well, not willing to say anything, but willing to share stories from, 20 years ago at this point. I think we're safe,
No, totally.
Knowing I do still talk to that employee who rubbed his hands through my hair, whatever it was. I
You have nice hair.
I still hear from him once in a while. So there's no ill will. I was able to address it. We moved on. It's all good.
Well, I think the great part about continuing to do HR Nightmares, at least for me, is like we do stay up to date because we're working in industries and businesses and with really interesting business owners and leaders that I know I'm learning something every day about what a great HR leader looks like and how to evolve myself. And I know you guys are kind of like always growing through the work that you're doing with clients, but we're really just trying to offer some realistic advice. Hopefully, I think at this point we do have some global listeners.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are. We're going to get our studio to give us the stats and we'll be happy to share.
Canada.
But Canada, I love Canada.
Some
Shout out to
different
Canada.
places.
So nice. It's even better than like Minnesota nice. Canada. Let's do an episode with a Canadian. We had a Canadian on once.
You know what? My future brother-in-law is Canadian. He lives in Canada now. He got shipped back there.
Ouch.
Well, he's military, so he's Canadian military, but he just
He's a
retired.
Mountie.
But he works like in HR within. He was Canadian Navy, and I think his function is like in the people stuff in the HR function.
Oh,
yeah, there's
well, let's
crossover
go.
there. So let's get Mike.
Yeah, Mike the Mountie.
And he's retired.
So
he probably can't share anything though. I bet we'll see how confidential he's got to be.
Well, we could talk about leadership or something.
He's pretty.
You know what I mean?
He's pretty fun. He's
all right. Get him liquored up at the wedding in Africa and see what he says. Okay. It's been a fun season 4, but this isn't the only season. Go back and watch season 1. We had a ton of great guests. Season 2, another ton of great guests. Season 3, great episodes. Season 4, we've got 56 videos out there for your viewing pleasure. Tons of microclips on social media. If you're a brain rot kind of person, go look at those. Like us, subscribe, share with your friends, tell everybody. Make sure you give us a few audience write-ins. We will answer them and not, you don't have to share your name or where you're calling from or anything like that. Anonymous write-ins on leithhrgroup.com. It's been a good time. We'll see you next season. Bye.